Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, this is episode 143.
Wow.
And today on this show, we're going to be wrapping up 3 years of Digital to Dice.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Today is July 15th. We're recording this on July 15th of 2022. And show 1, episode 1, was released on July 17th of 2019. So we're just 2 days shy of 3 years. So we're going to wrap that up.
It seems like that was forever ago. It seems longer than 3 years, doesn't it?
Well, there's some days that it feels like it's longer than 3 years, and there's other times it feels like it was. It feels like we've just been doing this for a year.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look back at it and I said, was that really 2019? Are you sure that wasn't 2021 that we started the show? Because there's sometimes it just doesn't feel like 3 years.
Alexa, what's 143 divided by 3?
143 divided by 3 is approximately 47.6667.
Thank you. That's how many shows we've done on average a year.
Yeah.
47.67 shows.
Yeah, 47, almost 48 shows a year. So we do miss a couple of weeks during the year.
Mostly the holidays is usually when.
Yeah, it's usually a holiday thing, or somebody's sick, or something like that, or something comes up. Sometimes I get crazy work hours during the season,
Right.
and we have to miss. But yeah, so we're going to just talk about some of the things that have gone on over the last 3 years, some of the challenges, some of the ups and downs, just in general. It's going to kind of wrap it all up, the 3 years that we've done. And then I think our next show, we're discussing doing a live show to kick off the 4th year of Digital to Dice.
The 4th year, a dozen.
So that'd be a gross, right?
That's a gross, yeah.
A gross misconduct. Okay.
Usually.
And so that way there was.
But Aunt Becky isn't available for gross misconduct.
So we're thinking about, like I said, going live to kick off the 4th year, so we can say hi, to chat with people. We'll probably have our annual fundraising drive like we normally do to help keep the show going in the whole bit, and things like that. So anyway, ways to get a hold of us. DigitalToDice.com is the website, a brand new website that just went up there a few weeks ago. 978-751-DICE. Send us a text. We may or may not read it on the show. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email, and over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. And if you would like to help support the show on a monthly basis, we're just asking for a $2 pledge or a $5 pledge per month. And that's over at patreon.com/DigitalToDice. And we are having some really great discussions in our Patreon Discord.
Yes.
They're really fun. They really are. They're very, I don't want to say personal, but they seem a little bit more personal than the Facebook stuff. It really does. Because these are the people that really, really like talking about this stuff. They really do, and it's really been fun. So anyway, well, what do you think? Should we get to what we're playing first?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, why don't you kick it off?
Okay, well, after my vacation week, we restarted the Action PC 1985 baseball replay and had some good ones this week. The American League West race has turned quite tight between the Royals and the Angels. It's only a game and a half. And the American League East there's 5 teams within 9 games of each other. The National League seems settled. And this is my 4th full streaming every game that I play UC replay, and the Dodgers will make the playoffs all 4 years. With 40 games to go, they now have a 17-game lead over Houston.
Wow.
And so, as we're almost to Labor Day. So next week is the last week of August in the replay. I just don't see how anyone's going to even get within 10, let alone scare the Dodgers later on. So I think we've seen enough precincts come in to pronounce the Dodgers champions of the National League West.
Do you think that's fun? Or do you think that's kind of a bummer that you're not going to have a race?
Well, both of the American League races are tight. And Montreal has crept within 10 of St. Louis. So when you got 4 races, St. Louis, I think's had it wrapped up for a while. If they were both gone, when I did the 49, if they both had gone, both leagues or all 4 races were done by this point, that would be a bummer. But there's plenty to focus on over the last month of the season. I know that Kansas City and California play a bunch of times down the stretch. The Yankees and the Blue Jays played the last 2 weekends of the season. And the Red Sox somehow are still in it. So Toronto and Boston have some games coming up. So no, just because we kind of put a few teams to the side, maybe bring them in for clinchers and that, there's still enough storylines coming in to make that worth that while. One of the nice things about doing replays the way that I do them is you just try to present the best stories, as opposed to, if you were doing, let's say, a Cincinnati Reds replay from that year, and you're 5 weeks left to go in the season, and you're 20 games out of first place.
That's the one thing about baseball that I don't really have as a hockey fan, is that because so many teams make the playoffs in hockey, you really got to be a bad team to start tuning out in March of the hockey league that ends in April. Whereas in baseball, if there are so many teams come August that are done, that they're not making the playoffs.
And they're trying to fix that with the Iowa wildcard spots this year. The Orioles, who were supposed to be a terrible team, are not only at 500 as we approach the All-Star break, but they're a game and a half out of the wild card. And so that just kind of like, we're not out of this. And so, I think there's a balance. I think there are too many football teams that make the playoffs now. 6 wild card games is about too many. And really about 4 too many for me.
When you look at last year's playoffs, it was so good.
But yes.
And you look at this year's hockey playoffs. Round 1 was one of the best rounds of playoffs that hockey's ever seen. All the game 7s and the whole bit. So as much as it does kind of stink having a ton of playoff teams, sometimes it's a good thing.
But in hockey, that's always been the case.
Yeah, but they're not always like, could you pit 1 versus 8 or whatever it is, and it's a 4-game sweep. Yeah, thanks for playing by. But all the first round games went pretty deep.
There were 5, right? 5 of the 8 went the distance.
I forget. There was a lot of game 7s in that. There might even been 5 or 6 of the 8 going game 7s. I don't think any of them were really sweeps. Oh, maybe the Colorado. Yeah, Colorado cruised through the playoffs this year. But aside from that,
they lost 3 games?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
incredible. Anyway, so I've been doing. So that's well, the thing is, baseball being a marathon, not a sprint. That's one of the reasons why I've not done the Red Sox replay or whatever. Just because once you're out of it, you can. It's one thing when you're going through the season and you know what else is going on. It's another to sit there and play something that's just not going to work. Anyway, so another thing I've been doing is I pulled out 2nd and 10, and I don't know why, because I am not a huge fan of mid-70s football. 3 yards and a choking cloud of AstroTurf is not my idea of a good time. And for those of you who love it, good for you. It's the pineapple on the pizza.
I think it's more of a nostalgia thing for me, but
I think I think it is because the earliest Super Bowl I remember is 9, and which was played in January of '75. So I would have been 3, and that was Steelers and Vikings. The last one in New Orleans before the Superdome opened, like 10-9 game. But I grew up a Bengals fan. I think I've mentioned that before. And I loved Kenny Anderson as a quarterback. And Anderson had a great year in 1973. Of course, it didn't hurt that his offensive coordinator was some scrub by the name of Bill Walsh. And the head coach was somebody by the name of Paul Brown. Mm-hmm. And they went 9-4, 10-4 that year. So I started playing them, and yes, They are primarily a running team, as most teams were then. But Anderson Walsh implemented the West Coast offense in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That was, throw it to your back, throw it short to your backs. The pass sets up the run. And we played Houston, San Diego, and Denver. I think it was Denver, Houston, and San Diego. And Cincinnati put 51 up on a terrible Dan Pastorini in Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Anderson threw for 5 touchdown passes.
Nice.
And so I was like, whoa. San Diego gave Cincinnati a tougher time. But then again, Cincinnati had defense in the mid-'70s, something they didn't have in the 80s. And so they forced turnovers, and it's easy to score when you start drives on their 17. And so they're 3-0, and I'm playing the game against the Browns, which they should win. And so I was like, wow, this is a really good – so I'm enjoying that because I don't think I'm going to do a football project per se since I still haven't finished the last one on the stream. But there's just something about 2nd and 10 that gives the best of both worlds. It's the open engine. You can see where the results go. I know the lack of animation kind of makes it a non-starter really for streaming purposes.
Right.
But it plays a reasonably good game of football.
Yep.
And so those are the two that I picked up the strap basketball when it was on sale last week. I see that they've given the timelines for the new card to window releases for Strat. That came out yesterday, by the way. Basketball late October, hockey late September, and football, I think they'll do cards and the PC separate, but it's coming up in mid-August, and there's no mention of retro seasons and anything yet. So I picked up the basketball game, and the Celtics are the Celtics. And I had picked up a hockey game when it was on sale, and the Islanders are still the Islanders. And and I've been fishing.
Oh, you like that fishing game?
I do. I don't understand quite why, but it's kind of like you don't have to think. I don't think I mentioned that I had fried the graphics card on my computer using that game and trying to record a video.
I think you told me that.
I know that I told you that, but when you're checking the temperature of the internals of your computer, they should not be at any point 87 degrees Celsius. Alexa, what is 87 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
87 degrees Celsius is 188.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
So, yeah, if you can kind of bake cookies in your computer, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Yes.
Yeah.
188.
Especially in a laptop.
It's airy and stuff like that, and laptops just work for me. But yeah, so between that's I caught a 3.5 pound bass yesterday in the Everglades in Florida.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing.
I have been in my late summer funk a bit early.
It's been warm for you down there. It's not been super hot here yet.
You know what? It's very deceiving because we're in mid-July, and late August, early September, I go into my 2-week funk where I just don't play anything, and that happened with video games too. And I think it was just because it was so hot, and you just get a little lethargic, and it's just the heat. I don't do well with the heat. I just get very lazy, is what it is.
Right.
And so that's what's kind of been happening the last couple of weeks. But it's July now. I did look out at my lawn, and my lawn is dormant. It's all hay. It's just yellow hay. It's not green anymore so I think that, maybe we got a little bit of a heat wave here, and it's just been kind of hot and sticky and yucky, and
we've not had a lot of rain.
Yeah, no, we haven't had rain hardly at all. So I don't know if I'm having a little bit of depression. I don't know if it's dehydration. I don't know what it is, but I have and I did a video on it the other night too. I did a live chat. It says, I don't want to play anything right now, and I don't know why, and I don't know what the deal is, and this and that and the other thing, And, it's just been weird. But the one thing I have been playing And don't ask me how I got on this, but I went over to Steam and I started playing a game called Star Realms, which is actually a digital version of the card and dice game, Star Realms.
Is it actually a card and dice game?
It's a card and dice game, yep, and it's on Steam, and it's an older game. You know, it's been around for many, many years. ID plays it.
Of one deck dungeon, which is a real game that they've turned into a computer.
Yeah. So the idea behind this is you start off with, it's a deck building game. I don't know anything about deck building games. I actually had to search what a deck building game was. And I have to be careful how I say that, deck building, okay? And so you start off with like very boring cards, and you buy better cards and put them in your deck. That's how you build your deck. And at some point you can buy cards that let you discard the bad cards. So over the rounds, as you buy cards, you say, "Hey, I want to get rid of this lowly card," and then so pretty soon your deck consists of better and better cards all the time. So you're constantly getting rid of the dead weight, so to speak. So that's how a deck builder works. I didn't really know that at the time. So I'm playing this game, and I'm just playing against a computer. You can play online against people, and you can play for free forever if you want. I spent the $4.99 and bought it so I could open up some. There's like a campaign and stuff you can do, and opens up some extra cards. And I was having a lot of fun with it. And then I bought a couple expansions. I think I spent a total of $10.50 on this game. And I got expansions, and and you can spend more if you want, but I just got that for now. And I was having a lot of fun with this because I could play it on the iPad and then come on the computer and pick up where I left off on the computer, because when you buy it for $4.99, and now you log in from any device that you have. So it's kind of, you can play anywhere and keep it going. I was having a lot of fun this game, and then I hit the wall.
The was is, the key word there, huh?
Yeah. So this is very much what happened with One Deck Dungeon and what happened with Gems of War. Whereas, the first few levels are great, and then you get to a point where I just can't win. I can't beat the computer. Would you just
say that that's a pay-to-win game? I've never given Gems a penny.
No, it's
Gems
not.
And a penny for me.
That's what I really like about this game. It's not pay-to-win. So when you buy the new, let's say I spent $3.99, I bought the next expansion of cards. All that does is infuse new cards into your game, but they're available for both players. So it's not like I can buy cards. I get these great cards and you can't use them. Right. If we were to play online together, and whatever cards are available, they just deal them out to both sides. So that's what's good about that, is that it's not a pay to win. It's just, I just found the computer, I get to a point where I'm getting destroyed. And I'm not sure what I can do to fix this, because we're supposed to be drawing from the same deck, and next thing you know, they're dealing me 30 damage, and I only had 50 to start with, and boom, it's game over. I'm like, how did they do that? And I look up, and they get like 3 or 4 bases, and I can't do any damage to them because they have the bases set up, and I can't destroy the base. I'm not powerful enough. So, yeah, I'm at a point where if I keep going back and play the first 2 or 3 levels, I can beat it and have some fun with it. But as soon as I try to go to the big boy stuff, even on easy or normal mode, I'm just at a point now. That's where with Gems of War, when I stopped, I was like, I don't think I can. I'm as high as I can go. I don't know how to get past this next level. And after losing 10 times in a row, I wasn't having fun. I'm going to go do something else. So that's kind of where I am. I still sit down once in a while and plug away and see if I can, figure out what I'm doing wrong. I've learned a lot about the game as far as what card you should buy first and what card you should play, and there's a little bit of strategy. A lot of it's luck with the cards, but some of it is strategy. But I'm just getting destroyed. So maybe I'm just too new at it and I don't know enough about it, or maybe it's just a tough game. And if that's the case, and it's gonna, I'm glad I only spent $10 on it, because I got my fun out of it. I've been playing hours and hours and hours of it. But yeah, I'm at a point now where it's like, why bother trying to even try to play level 4? Because I just get destroyed and I don't know how to fix it. So, but anyway, so that's mostly what I've been playing. I did finally set up over there in Studio A the next Bruins game for Hockey Bones, my 92-93 season. So I'm on game 13 right now. I think I'm going to Buffalo to play the Sabres. So I set that up a couple of days ago, and so that's ready to go as soon as I'm in the mood to play, is what it comes down to. And it's been kind of hot here in Studio B. I don't have AC down here. I got the fans, but even the fans really weren't cooling. Even at night, I found it to be very hot down here. And I just get that lethargic laziness when it's hot.
No, I get it.
So,
I mean, this morning it was 58 out at 6:30. It's like, yeah. So it was a nice walk downtown. But if you're in the sun,
yeah, the sun has been yucky. I haven't even walked the dog. It's been too hot to even walk the dog. I think I got him out in the morning yesterday, but it's just when it's 85, 90 degrees, the cement and the tar and the streets are just too hot for his feet, so you can't walk him, you know. So that's what's kind of been going on over here. So I found myself sitting upstairs where I have the AC, watching YouTube, and we watch professional eaters. I think I've been talking about this a little bit on the show. We watch the people that just eat large amounts of food, and every day we find somebody new. And there's this lady, she's skinny as a rail. I think she's 40, and I just watched her eat a 5-pound hamburger. Okay, picture a 5-pound hamburger. I think it was 4 or 5 1-pound patties. This thing was like a watermelon. This thing was huge with the buns and everything. 5 pounds. I mean, you're talking as big as my head. How long do you think it took? How long do you think it took her to eat it?
That's all I can do to eat, the half pound if we do 5 guys.
Well, she sat down. The record was 18 minutes and 36 seconds. That was the record that somebody did.
Okay, so it was, so we're going to say 15 minutes.
Would you believe me if I said it was under 3 minutes?
Did she chew?
No, she doesn't chew. That's the key. And now I would be choking on the food. She just grabs a bite, hamburger, stuffs it in her mouth, and swallows. Takes the next piece, stuffs it in her mouth, and swallows. And I was watching it with the wife, and she's like, her mouth just hit the floor. She's like, she's not chewing. She's just putting huge pieces of hamburger in her mouth and swallowing it whole. It's like, oh my gosh. And she's like, oh, not bad. 2:37. That's pretty good. Yeah, you beat the record by 16 minutes. Holy cow. It's interesting. It is.
Her colon must love her.
Picture eating 5 pounds of food, of anything.
No.
That's 5 pounds sitting inside you. And there was another challenge she did where it was, I think it was 6 pounds of hamburger and 6 pounds of French fries. And she ate the whole thing.
Gosh.
That's 12 pounds of food. I mean, picture putting 12 pounds of anything in your stomach. I mean, that's...
No.
You instantly gain 12 pounds, right? Holy cow.
The other night, the wifey and I were, tonight's the night I cook, so it's probably, as you know, I treat Sarah.
You go all out. Yeah, KFC all the way.
No, Sarah's like, oh yeah, you treat me special, Ron. Hey, Burger King for everybody. No, so we were at the store, and so I picked up dinner as opposed to just eat the leftovers, and so I think I got like a Marie Callender's pot pie, and I think it was like an extra large one, or not the regular one, certainly not the banquet. It was like I could finish it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine putting six pounds of food.
I mean, I could eat a lot of food back in the day, but like these people that sit down and eat 6 large pizzas. I mean, I'll have
never finished. I don't think I've ever sat and eaten. Now, of course, a grocery store pizza is a different story.
Right.
And those we cut in half. But, if you get I don't think I've ever eaten one whole takeout pizza in one sitting.
If they're, what are they, 8 slices usually? 8.
Usually,
I think they're 8 slices. I think I could have 4, maybe 5. When I was really putting food away, not that long ago, I could probably do 5 of those slices. And then it's like, okay.
I had 6 as a kid, but that was...
I couldn't imagine a whole pizza and then 5 more. Just
the grease.
Yeah.
Just the grease.
And what's tough is... you see, when they do the pizza challenge, they say that their jaws are killing them from the chewing of the dough. That's what tires them out. Is that right there? So interesting stuff on YouTube. It's very fun to watch. It really is. It's entertaining if anything else. Just so that's what we've been doing. It's just kicking back in the AC, watching people pound the food.
Now you need to find a professional eater that power washes, and you'll be all set.
Yeah, I do. I got to go back to my power washing. It's so much safer. But anyway, all right. So let's get on to the main topic of the show, shall we?
Yep.
All righty, so 3 years of
hard to believe.
Digital to Dice.
Hard to believe.
And it is. There's a lot of funny stories along the way, a lot of things that just kind of happened. And, I guess probably the first story is that this was supposed to just be my journey away from video games to tabletop games and sports sims on the computer. That was kind of the whole premise of Digital to Dice, going from, like I said, the Xbox and the PS4, which is the digital, to the rolling of the dice on the table for the dice. And I started doing videos, kind of cataloging or archiving my thoughts and my journey. Mm-hmm. And then we started just chatting almost on a daily basis, and I says, I'm thinking about doing a podcast rather than the videos are kind of hard because you got to set it up and do it and make
you were doing them on location. You were doing them to the beach, and
I went down to the beach. I was in the backyard. I was doing different places, walking the dog. It was kind of fun. But I wanted to do a podcast talking about it because I was phasing out of the video game podcast with the Game Hounds. Mm-hmm. And, I approached you about it, and you were doing, I don't know if you were still doing a podcast at the time, or if you were doing some writing, or what you were doing.
I've done some writing. It just started doing
What were you doing at the time when we started this, though? Or did you finish something else?
I'd spent some time. I did a couple years at Fansided, writing, covering the Nationals, and then I got. They wanted me to do hockey, and so I started to cover hockey, and I was by myself, and as more of a casual hockey fan. I mean, the Capitals were a good story. They had just come off of their cup run, but it just they required so much content. They needed 50 articles a month to get paid.
Wow!
As an editor, yeah. Which is, you probably could have done it because you know about how a hockey offseason works, and that there's only so many stories about.
Right. Yeah.
You can only grade so many players, and you can only today the cup got dinged again because it got dropped. They put a parachute on it, and the Stanley Cup when skydived. That sort of thing. They're great stories, but there's only so many times you can sit there and read about the Hershey Bears and try to come up with. It just wasn't native. And so I'd gone back to do retro, it started Retro Sports Network and then got the fan-sided job, and then kind of went back to Retro Sports Network and just to time me over while I decompressed, and that kind of turned into something. I did the 78 football replay, which is how I met you, and then I did the 82 baseball season, and so I think I was doing that first season. Was finishing up the first baseball season when you approached me with the idea. And because we had did the EMRHL show.
Yeah, we do on my Wednesday show.
Right,
yep.
That was the first thing that we really did together. And so you had approached about a podcast. I've done a bunch of podcasts before. I've been doing some, off and on since 2005. So this wasn't new to me in any way, shape, or form. And I went, okay, yeah, I'll do a couple with you. Well,
yeah. Originally, you said no. Well, you said no, but you'll do the first one or two just to get it off the ground.
Right.
It's kind of how it was. So you're still kind of like the special guest. You're not really a co-host. You're a special guest.
Yeah, sure. Sure, Jan. So I did. I wasn't quite sure of that, and then we did the first few, and it worked.
Do you remember the conversations that we had before even recording the first couple of shows?
I remember because you would come off the news show with the Game Hounds, and first of all, we were surprised that there wasn't anything quite like what we were doing. I mean, there's been Delphi forums for 20 some odd 25 some odd years. I've been remember reading them in the late 90s. Tabletop Sports and some of that, and so people have that kind of reinstalled, like, oh, people still do these for games and they still make them and all that. And so I knew there was a community out there. And when I started doing the first video I did was I watched some people do sim auto racing, and which is a sport all unto its own. In fact, a couple of the drivers have gone on now to become real life racers, specifically because those simulations are so good.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They
know how to entertain and all that. And so I'm thinking to myself, if people are going if there's 100 of us that are watching someone drive a fake McLaren on a fake track, why can't I do that? Not the driving part, but, what I want to do. And so I did. This was back in 2016. This was before I got involved with Fanside. In 2nd and 10, I did the 58 NFL championship game. 1,000 people watched it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So it's there. So I kind of had, it's kind of something to come back to until I recharged the batteries and went back to writing, which I still haven't done yet. So I've been doing it. So yeah, as far as so the one condition I made when we did this was I didn't want it to be a topical show. So much of my writing had been like making bread. Why isn't 5 reasons why Ryan Zimmerman needs to retire now, which is not something I wrote, but that's the type of writing that you do when you write about sports. And so it's good for those 3 days. Then he hits the 3-run homer to beat the Mets, and no one's ever reading that story again. Because,
right. Yeah.
And so I did not want to do a show that was about the here and now, but to go back through and say, build up stuff that we could listen to over time, and that's what we did.
Well, I think that was, let's say we talk about the goals of the show. I think the goals that we had set was we wanted to be timeless. We want to have guests on from time to time, and we want to talk about things in our games that we run into, and things that we find out that other people are, reading the Delphi forums and Facebook and the whole bit. It was just like, what are people talking about today? That is kind of a timeless thing. Like I say, when a new season comes out is, whatever, or a new game comes out, or, somebody comes out with some homebrew rules, or, whatever it was, if you run into trouble in a game, all the topics will be covered. It's kind of one of the things there. But how ironic that we wanted to make it a timeless show, and our first show was on Action PC Football
Baseball 2019, Basketball 2019.
Was it baseball or football 2019? I forget. It was one of the two.
It was the new release for basketball.
Oh, it might have been, yeah. So our first show was not so much a timeless show.
No.
But it had just come out, so it was something we were talking about. It was one of the new Action PC game.
I might have done an unboxing video for it, and gave us something to talk about.
So I think we even talked about once in a while. There's going to be something we talk about that will probably be kind of time specific. You just can't avoid it. Something's going to happen that we need to talk about. And sometimes when a new game comes up, if we're if it makes an impression on us, we go out of our way to talk about that a little bit, But for the most part, the goal was you could go back and listen to any show like it was today. And the funny thing is about all that is how we've grown. We did a show on growing as a gamer.
Yes.
Whereas some of the things that, we thought or we felt or had opinions on 2 or 3 years ago, now we have different thoughts on, just from playing or talking to people or giving games a second chance. Or, for myself, I was so new at this stuff. I was still learning how to roll 6-sided dice, and getting results, and it was a little bit different than when you roll 2 6-sided dice, the chances are different than rolling a 20-sided die. So I was still learning all that stuff, And I started with quick play games and then went to shootout and medium play games. So for myself, I've really broadened my horizon. So
yeah, you really were the newbie.
I've really grown with all this stuff here. And so it's fun going back. And we were talking before the show. It's like sometimes it feels a heck of a lot longer than 3 years. And other times I look back and it feels like 1 year. I can't believe that we got 3 full years of this.
3 full years, and look at the times that we went through over those 3 years.
Yeah, so that's what we want to get into now. So we want to talk about some of the challenges and some of the ups and downs and some of the things that have happened over the last 3 years of doing the show, and which is now up to 143 episodes, which is pretty good, I think. You know?
As she said, that's not quite 48 a year.
Yeah. The one thing that we did, or at least I insisted on in the beginning, is I didn't want to be nailed down to a specific day. And the reason for that is it's better for the show to say, hey, every Wednesday a new show, or every Friday a new show, or every Sunday a new show, because people can count on that. And so that is a good thing. The bad thing is, we're just doing this kind of as a hobby,
right?
And life gets in the way. We're older. We have our health issues. We have families. We have work. We have different things that go on. And so I the last podcast I was in, come hell or high water, you were on the computer recording at a certain time. Whether you didn't sleep the night before, whether you just didn't feel good, or whether you worked all day, and that made for some bad shows. Like, let's just get this over with type shows.
If you're going to be doing a show about a hobby, where there's nothing really super time sensitive about the topics that we do. If a game comes out on a Monday, we're not going to be talking about it Tuesday morning. If it's worthy of doing it on our own channels, okay, fine. But as far as sitting down doing this, if it's Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, it really doesn't matter. You're talking about a hobby.
Yeah, I wanted to get one out a week. So somewhere between Sunday and Sunday, I wanted to get a show out, and then somewhere between the next Sunday and Sunday. But so the reason why we don't have a specific day is because things change. I mean, we used to record like on Wednesdays.
Yeah, Wednesdays afternoons.
That was our big, because when we stopped doing the roller hockey show on Wednesdays, that became our new recording time slot, and that worked for a long time. And then things would come up, and hey, let's do it on the weekend. And then sometimes it would come up, and like today is a Friday we're doing. We don't usually do a lot of Fridays, but it's what works for us, because there's been times that we've sat down and record a show, and we do the video chat on the StreamYard, and we sit down, and one of us will look at the other, and it's like, well, you are right. And it's just, well, and then we talk for a few minutes, and like, let's not record today. You got something going on. A lot of times with me, it's work. I got a lot of work backed up, and I get anxious about that. Or, or sometimes Ron's got something going on over there, and he's just like, it's hot over here today, and I just,
it's hot, and my wife has issues as well, and
so just something will come up, and
there's always,
and so we'll just say, today's not a good day to do the show. It's just one of us is going to be off our game.
Yesterday, as a matter of fact, we were supposed to do this yesterday.
Some come up with me.
Nope.
I had a lot of things like on my plate. I got a late start to the day because I've been pretty lethargic and lazy lately. And again, I don't know if I'm dehydrated or depressed. I don't know which one it is, but I had a long list of things to do yesterday, and I was fighting that list. And when we sat down to record, I think you were just like, yeah, why don't you just go take care of your things, because, you're just not focused in on what we need to do today. And that's what it was. It would not have been a good show yesterday because I just wasn't ready to do the show. So that's why we try to record at least once a week. Sometimes it spins out to 10 days. Occasionally we miss a week. But for the most part, we try to get something in under the wire every week.
But I was surprised. I mean, we do average 48 shows a year.
Yeah, 48 out of what, 52 weeks?
Yeah, out of 52.
Yeah. So there's, like I said, there's the times, sometimes we do miss a week, and there's other times that just, it goes out to 10 or 11 days instead of the 7 days. So
And I mean, we've interviewed a variety of different people over the years.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing. Yeah, we definitely wanted to have people on the show. We wanted to have game developers. We wanted to have community members. We didn't want to limit it to just, people who made games. We wanted to talk to the community. And we've had some people in the community and have had some fantastic shows.
A Hall of Famer, as a matter.
That's right. Before he was a Hall of Famer.
Before
we knew him. We knew him.
We knew him before. We knew him before. And you know what? His daughter still rolls her eyes just as much after he became a Hall of Famer as it was before. But yeah, and so some gamers and some developers, and you ask about what's changed for me over the last 3 years or 4 years or whatever, and you play all sorts of different things that you get out of your comfort zone in an awful big hurry. I don't have a problem with cameras and microphones. I've been doing it for a long, long time. But you sit down there and you plunk down the money and you're trying to figure something out, trying to figure out how this is going to work for you and whether you enjoy it. And just a lot of eye-opening because, you bring it up sometimes when we're not recording. It's important to know as much as you can. And so things that you wouldn't necessarily have played. I think I had Strat Baseball 3 years ago. I probably won't buy the college football game because I don't play college football enough, but I now have the current edition of all 4 Strat games. And my games have games, and there's data for this and data for that.
That's certainly one of the things that have happened to both of us over the last 3 years is how many games we now have, how many games we play, how many games we've discovered.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Seriously, I started this and I must have 20 hockey games right now. And I probably have 15 baseball games, and I probably could, if I looked, I could probably have 100 baseball games. And I remember talking on the show, maybe even a couple years ago, saying, I really don't want to open up the can of worms, which is baseball games, because there's going to be 100 of them. And I helped
them, and then it's leading to a 2.5 hour conversation about the 1899 Cleveland Spiders.
Yes, it did, didn't it? It did.
And because, one of the things I think we try to do is try to expose you guys out there to new types of gaming, and that's we all have our. What were we doing when we were 13, 14, 15 seasons going on? But the whole thing with having authors on, that Scott that wrote the WHA book, and Lon Whitehead, who did all the research for his Top of the Stretch horse racing game. I mean, I own a gymnastics game, for crying out loud.
Right.
I mean, that's just mind-boggling.
But the whole gaming thing is actually a two-way street, because as many games as we've discovered and exposed the audience to, the audience in the community have found games and exposed us to as well.
Right.
And it's like, I never heard of that game. Let me go check it out. Or what is this game? Or, what are you talking about over here? And, and everything from the small free games to some of the bigger ones. It's like, holy cow, I didn't know that. And the whole, second chances thing. It's like, I try a game, whatever. And then I go back to it and people say, no, give it another try. And I've told people the same thing. And we get texts and emails all the time. And people are like, I didn't like this game. And then you talked about it and it finally made sense. And now I'm enjoying the game. And I think we've all been there. And sometimes it just takes a familiar and a friendly voice to talk about something, and it makes sense, because that's happened to me so many times. I mean, look at the Apple Hall of Famer Tebow. It was one of his Apple hockey videos that got me back into Apple hockey, and I didn't mind it at first, but I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then his videos, something triggered in those videos, and it just the switch went off. And the rest is history, and sometimes that's all it is. So yeah, we've come across so many games we played so many. We try to show them off on the channel. We try to talk about them on the show here because there's so many good games, and there's so many underrated games out there, and they might not be your AAA titles, so to speak, but they're well worth checking out and having fun. Like Pocket Pennant Run. Was it $10?
$10.
And you get all the seasons and the software, and we had the guys on the show. I love that game. I need to play that more. Put a nickel in the jar, Dave. I need to play that more because I enjoyed that so much when I played it. I really do. I really did. You know, that's just such a fun game. You know, Fast Drive Football.
Al Wilson's game. And we had Al, yeah.
We had Al on. That's a fantastic game. It is so fun.
Every season's done, and it's free.
Yeah, and it's just...
free or cheap in the community doesn't mean bad quality at all.
And these are some of the games that have come up over the last 3 years, so people are still producing new games. And it's great when they come out. We get to share them with the community. The community shares them with us. We each learn from each other. And it's just a win-win for everybody with that stuff. It really is. And like I say, I'm playing so many games right now. It's not even funny. And I get games that I never thought I would play. I get games that I knew I would give a second chance to. Some worked out, some didn't, you know. But that does bring up another challenge, though, of doing a podcast on gaming is, and this is one of the things I ran into with the Game Hounds video game podcast, is if you get on a game that you really, really like, you know, and there's a lot of people in the community that get on their one game or their one project and you play that. Well, we come on here every week and I can't just say, hey, guess what I'm playing? X again. I have to play something different to talk about it on the show. Mm-hmm. And for many years with the Game Hounds, I was stuck on that Skyrim game. And to a point where, you know, they said, you got to play something else. You can't just come on here and talk about a game for 6 weeks in a row. We need you to play something else to talk. And that's kind of the same thing here. So I will purposely try to play something during the week. And I know that you play a bunch of different games too. So we can talk about it. Because if you just come on here every week and talk about Action PC Baseball every single week,
I read a lot. My prep is reading other people's replays, what they like about games, what they don't like about games, what projects they're doing, what they like about the projects, what's coming out, what they think for them. I don't write a lot on the message boards, but I must spend 5 or 6 hours a week just scouring through. And for instance, the motorsport game that I have showed off on the channel, he's working on a tennis game.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if it's going to be the same 5/6 style of game that the motorsport is, or whether you would want to do a whole tournament like that. That's, you know, a Grand Slam was a singles draw, and a Grand Slam was 127 matches because there are 100 fields of 128. But you might, over the course, he's got it down to 4 minutes a set or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it just, you know, opening up your mind to what's possible for a gaming project, and just kind of reading through and going, okay, I might be interested in that, and talking about it, or seeing what people find. I mean, on the Apple boards, there's been a long discussion within the last, since the football cards came out, about Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've done a show on perception versus reality. And the perception for Allen in a lot of people's minds comes down to that game against Kansas City.
Yeah.
You know, and if Buffalo if just squibbed the damn thing, they win that game. And the reality is that Allen is a running quarterback that doesn't have, in the grand scheme of modern football, that great of a completion percentage and that great of a yardage thing. And so people who think of Allen as that quarterback from that playoff game, like, no, how does he get those numbers? Well, he doesn't. It's based on the regular season. So watching what people will talk about, and people bring up very good arguments. We that sort of thing. And that's besides playing games, the prep work that I do every week to go in, because I might see something 6 months ago and it might come up in an interview, or what are you playing? Oh, I saw this or whatever, just to keep it fresh and just to keep on top of things.
Mm. Well, and that gets me to talk about the community itself, as the people that we've met, not only the people that we've interviewed, and we've had some fantastic ones, but just the people, sometimes in the chat room, the people that, make comments on YouTube or anything like that. We've just really opened up to so many people. And there's so many people that listen to the show that we never talk to at all, and they don't comment, and they just listen. And so, but the people that we have contacted with and talked to, it's just been amazing, because it's, people helping each other learn games, or, how to print out cards for if you're printing your own stuff, or just things we didn't know about in the industry, or, hey, this, that. It's really fun. And it seems like every week, we find somebody new, or, somebody we haven't talked to in a while comes back and send us a message on the show.
The Facebook group's at 1,100 people.
Yeah. I remember when we hit 200 and we were all excited that we hit 200.
Deal, yeah.
And now it's 11. It's like, holy cow, how did we go from 200 to 1,100? And we got some, people on there all the time, and they're talking about what they're playing, and, hey, I'm having a problem with this, and people try to help out. And so the community has probably been the most exciting thing for me about this whole 3 years.
And I think we're going to talk, do a whole show just based on the community, but to, put a little, cliff note in for it. The community comes up with games. The community comes up with project ideas. Community interacts with each other. I know, going back to Fast Drive Football, that they gave Al Wilson some constructive feedback on how to do the game. And when I rediscovered the gaming thing, it was the Delphi forums, Tabletop Sports, and I think there was another sports replay board at Delphi. I know that Jeff Downey had a board at one point. And so those are the things, and you kind of come back to it after whatever, kids, jobs, service to your country, or what have you. And some of it is, I'm not alone in playing this. Yeah. And again, not to pick favorite games. I mean, there's a Strat community, and an APA community, and an Action PC community, and they've all, because web space and storage space has crashed as far as prices are concerned. I mean, I remember talking with Sarah 20 years ago about buying a 1 gig hard drive or whatever it was, and it's like $100. Can we spend the $150 to get it? Well, my backup hard drive is 4 terabytes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we can do so much more with it. And of course, the growth of PC games such as Action PC and the OOTP line, and all the sports management games, which certainly it may not be a replay, but it certainly is a simulation. And it just, everything kind of grows, and a lot of people play. I mean, Fuzzy over at Delphi, MGD, multiple game disease.
Right.
Well, I battled and survived COVID, but you and I will never, beat MGD, because we certainly have it. And just to think. And
as soon as it's like you think, okay, I got everything I need, you find another game that's fun, and you buy seasons for that, and it's like, son of a gun, here I go again.
Here we go again. And, maybe one of the great things in sports gaming history happened last weekend, as a matter of fact. Keith Hernandez, going in the Hall of Fame finally, had his number retired by the Mets, which should have happened years ago. Frankly, he's a broadcaster now for them on SNY, so on television. And they gave him a portrait of himself, and it was made from baseball cards and Strat cards.
Oh, nice.
And so Yeah, I mean, everyone knows, you talk about sports gaming, and again, when you bring it up to other people, they go, what?
Yeah.
Okay. Madden, they might know. FIFA, they might know. Triple Play or MLB The Show, they might know. But Strat and Napa, you might as well be talking about Fortran and COBOL.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're very, ALGOL 68, still functioning computer languages that BASIC. Oh, I remember BASIC, but no one knows what the hell they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, to have that kind of exposure, as Keith tells the story. He went off to his first farm club, and he brought he packed the 1970 Strat season. So it's a game he played as a kid. He went to pull it out in his apartment, and it wasn't there. And he, did you do my card game, Dad? And Dad said, it's time to focus on real baseball. No. So, that sort of thing. And so I think it's more and more integrated. And again, I think one of the things that surprised me is that people play so many different games.
Yeah.
You think you get into the one community and you think, okay, my primary game time is going to be Game Company A or Game Company B. But even some of the Hall of Famers we know, not just Tebow, but play a variety of different things.
Yeah.
It's not just one game.
What I find fun too is when we go live, you on Twitch or me on YouTube, we have a lot of the listeners come in to the chat room, and we have such a good time there. Like my 1899 Cleveland Spiders, it's just kind of taken on a life of its own, and it's something that I can just jump on at night or during the day, whatever, and play some Spiders baseball, and people come in and we chat, we have a good time, and it's nothing to be taken serious. You can't take the Spiders serious.
A team that's only going to win 20 games.
No. But we've made a nice little night out of it where we have, Steeler fan Buggy Whips, and he comes in, he talks about his specials, then we have the sponsors. We have Uncle Ron's Snake Oil. Steve Tower now comes in, and we all know Steve Tower. And he has his is it Dr. Tower's Elixir or something like that. He's got like that. Yeah, so he's now a sponsor of the Spiders with his Elixir, and we're coming up with all these old things just to talk about and have some fun with, and even the graphics for the Spiders, they got like light towers, and there was no light towers back in the day, but and there's cars in the background, so we make fun of the pictures of the ballparks and Strat, but it's just a fun, lighthearted time, and we come in. And it's just, every time I do Spiders baseball, I've never had a bad thing with Spiders baseball, except when I first did it on Action PC and I didn't know anything about it, and I was all mad that I was losing the games. Now that I'm playing it on Strat and I have an idea what's going on and read the book and talked to the author, now I know that, okay, this is something I can just kick back and just enjoy whatever's going to happen. If they win, great, but if they lose, they're probably going to lose. Let's just deal with it. So. But it's just been fun doing the broadcast and have people come in there and the whole bit. And sometimes I just go on and just chat. And I just kind of, something strikes me just as something's going on in my life. And I go on and I chat. And people come in and they can relate to it. The community can relate to so much that we talk about. And, even with a live chat, the other day, it's like it was hot. And I was like, it's hot and I don't want to play anything. And is it just because it's hot, or am I going through something early here this year? Because I'm about a month early for my gaming funk that I'm totally keeping an eye on. But maybe that's stressing me out, and that's why. Maybe I'm playing mind games with myself.
You say I do a serious replay, and if you've been to my chats, it devolves usually once a week into discussions of Lycra and. Sometimes it falls into discussions of baseball arguments, but most days it falls into a discussion of my bad singing or Klingon ships or whatever it is. And again, it's kind of, baseball doesn't require your complete and total attention to pay attention to. And it's the perfect radio sport, which is why it doesn't really do well on YouTube. But again, then they come in and talk about, maybe one of the players that played in the game or going on vacation or you're checking in on. When I was a kid, we got the, cable, Cubs games. This was before Harry Carey. So Jack Brickhouse, it's like, third inning here, and that's a 1-strike count to Leon Durham. And we'd like to wish Mabel out in Oak Cliff, Illinois, a happy 78th birthday. She watches, and you're going, why do I care? Mabel's 78, and glad that, her cataract surgery went there. It's the same thing. Norm Nathan overnights on BZ on the weekends,
Yeah.
How's your sciatica doing, darling? Oh, it's great. I haven't felt,
I've been listening to talk radio since I was a little kid.
Right. And this kind of,
I remember that.
Same,
I mean, the WBZ over here.
The same thing. How you doing? Yep. We go through things together, and there's a ground ball to short, throw to first, and he's out. Well, I'm sorry this happened, or good for you. Your daughter did this, and so, yeah, I get it now. But it's a wonderful community, and I'm glad we get to share it.
Yeah. And again, it's now 3 full years. We're starting year 4. And it's just, we've gone through a lot with the community. We've had ups and downs in our lives, and the community's had their ups and downs, and everything from, people passing away, and then we've had babies be born, and people now grandparents.
We've had members of the community pass away.
Yeah. We have people that have gotten married, got new jobs, that have moved. I mean, and we kind of get to experience that with everybody, and that's kind of fun. It's like, so, we'll do a show, and people will pick up on the littlest things sometimes that
right.
is important to them, and that's really cool too.
Thing, which is a throwaway.
Yeah, but there's some things we'll say something, and people will pick up on that because they can really relate to that. And then, hey, I'm going through this in my life, or it's funny you say that because I'm moving, and the first thing going are my cards, and that's really, it's very relatable. The community is very relatable, and we try to be very relatable too.
Right.
I mean, me and Ron, we get in our Lamborghinis, one leg at a time. So we're just like everybody else,
That's right. Yes. Yes.
But it is great, talking to people and how we've grown with them for 3 years, and we've learned a lot. And again, we've made mistakes like everybody else, but I think we try to keep a pretty positive show, and we've learned a lot about the community. We learned a lot about games. I think people learned a lot about everything, and I think in a small way, we've kind of brought people together a little bit in our own little way.
I think so. Or at least we're more aware of it. And social media, as you know, can be extremely divisive.
Right.
I don't think we need to go any further than that. And I hope that our little corner of social media has brought people together, because regardless of what you think about this, that, and the other thing, we play games.
Yeah.
And whether you're just going back to remember when I had hair, or whatever, that you can do that. And it's there, and it's always going to be there in some sort. And it really doesn't matter what game company you choose or whatever. It's all about the experience of either rolling the dice or hitting the buttons or what have you.
Yeah, because we do try to keep this our own little space away from all the junk.
Right.
We don't care what you think about X, Y, or Z out within the wild, but when you come here, we used to watch sports and go to movies for that. That's now being infiltrated with all the junk that's out there. Yeah. And it's sometimes it's hard to watch that stuff because you want to escape from the garbage, and the garbage is now coming in. So we want to keep the garbage out as long as we can. We want to get here with everybody. We don't care who you are, and we want to talk about games. And I think we've kind of accomplished that goal as well for the most part, And
we'll continue to do so. This is not a goodbye show by any stretch.
No. Although Ron hasn't signed his new contract yet. We heard he's.
You haven't mailed it, Mr. Fisk.
I faxed it to you.
You faxed it. You faxed it.
Do you still have a fax machine? Do you still have a fax machine?
I never had a fax machine.
I had one for a while.
I've had PCs, and supposedly you can, directly fax to them.
Yeah.
But you did know that's how the Red Sox lost Carlton Fisk.
I thought that's how they lost A-Rod.
No, Seelig canceled the A-Rod deal because A-Rod decided to take a pay cut, and the union kind of gave him a hard time about doing that.
Oh, okay.
No, they literally postmarked Carlton Fisk's contract too late.
Huh.
And he was made a free agent. And that's how he ended up in Chicago.
Ooh,
because the Red Sox couldn't be bothered to mail his contract in time.
There was a fax machine issue in the National Hockey League one time. And I don't know if it had to do with the Bruins or not, but there was a fax that got jammed or didn't make it through, and then the next fax that came in got the player. I forget who it was, but there was something like that happened in the NHL too with a fax machine. And now,
yeah,
now the word's out before the player even knows. I mean, there's so many.
Oh, yeah. As what was it, a few years ago at the NFL draft, the Vikings couldn't get their pick up in time. And the three teams that were lined up behind them ran up to get their picks in because the Vikings couldn't get their pick in.
I think I remember something about that.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that? I mean, come on. How do you not get your pick in? Come on.
You've got 15 minutes. Anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up. So, yeah, so that's just kind of some of the challenges, some of the ups and downs, some of the inner workings of what we've experienced over 3 full years now of Digital to Dice. We'd like to thank everybody that's supported this show in one way or another to help keep this going. And like I said, hopefully we'll have a nice live show coming up, and we'll have our annual fundraiser to help, pay the Spreaker bills and the website bills and all this other stuff that we got going on here. If you choose to do so, if not, that's fine too.
Always voluntary.
Yeah, always voluntary. But we do like to see that the numbers have grown as far as listenership. That we go and we every once in a while we'll look at the stats and see who's listening from around the world and how many people are still listening on Zune, Z-U-N-E.
Yeah,
that's kind of fun. Going like, who's still listening on Zoom?
Everything Bill Gates touched turned to gold.
we at one point we wanted to see who that person was and have him on the show. That would be great.
There you go.
But anyway, all right. Well, before we wrap up episode 143, should we get to our 3 stars of the week?
Absolutely.
All righty. In no particular order. Okay, our 3rd star is Craig M.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Craig, for being a Patreon supporter of the show. Our number 2 star is Dwayne Norris.
Woohoo!
Dwayne, thank you so much for coming along with us on the Digital to Dice ride. And again, just kind of randomly picked, folks. This really was completely random. Our number 1 star of the week is Al Red Sox fan.
Woohoo!
He was our first Patreon, and he is our star of the week as well. So Craig Dwayne,
father of the community, really.
He is, yeah. He was one of the bigger guys here that got started it all. He's still going strong. He still is with his.
That was Grandpa Al.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So good for Al and the whole bit. But yeah, Craig, Dwayne, and Al, thank you so much. You are our 3 stars of the week. So shall we wrap this up?
Absolutely.
All right, by the numbers, this has been episode 143 of the Digital to Dice podcast as we wrap up 3 full years of the podcast. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Again, just thanks to everybody along the way that listened, that tuned in, that commented. And one thing that we didn't bring up is that the community drives a lot of our topics on the show.
Yes.
Just things that you say, things that you comment, things that you suggest, situations that arise in your replay. We read those. We read them, and we're like, hey, did you see so-and-so? That's a great topic. So, yes, the community is a huge part of the show, and that's what was designed to be. See, digitaltodice.com is the website. 978-751-DICE is the text line. digitaltodice@yahoo.com is the email, and over on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. Ron, a big high five to you for 3 years.
High five. No, Aunt Becky, your library can't move to the Midwest. You're staying out in California.
And so up next week, we begin year 4 of Digital to Dice. And I think we're going to try to kick it off with a live show, probably on YouTube, on something like that. Don't hold us to that, but we hope to do that. We will be recording our June Patreon event. We're a little bit late because of the COVID thing, but we got to get our Patreon event out as well. And again,
July.
Well, we got to do June first. You got COVID, and that sent us back like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, big thanks to everybody who's been along for this 3-year ride, and we look forward to seeing you in year 4.
Take care. Bye-bye.